Are you convinced that we're responding urgently to the frustrations, the expectations, and the needs of the people who have surrendered their sovereignty and resources and what we are going through now as a people?
Good morning to your viewers and listeners all over the world. Definitely not. But I normally ask myself whether there's anything that could be done with the current system of structure. So far as I'm concerned, I know that multi-party democracy is a scam. It's a worldwide scam that we've been practicing. But in the case of Ghana's scenario, we have a bad constitution, 1992 constitution. And then we also have government officials that are also worse in character. And so our state of affairs will definitely be in a state of worst case scenario. And this is what is actually happening to us. Whatever thing that we are facing as a nation is self-inflicted by the political system. And more often than not, we do not actually go back to the root cause of issue, doing things with understanding. I mean, how can somebody like the vice president, who has worked with Bank of Ghana, who we all know that he's an economic expert, somebody that the president pride himself with, and being fortunate of having him, someone who spare the nation on with such an exuberant words, despising the then government administration, for us to face with such a scenario. You see, more often than not, the things that we study in school turns out to be something that we need to go back. Other than that, we may be believing and chasing our own shadow in the cave of what Plato called the allegory of Plato, of people finding themselves in the cave, just chasing their shadows, and they can never touch the reality. You know, you remember that the vice president said that you can do propaganda with whatever thing. And so far as you are doing propaganda with whatever thing, the exchange rate will expose you. Mm-hmm. When he said that, I came out to say that what he's saying is true. But he himself, as an economist, has actually believed in something which does not exist. What we call the economic fundamentals, they don't understand it. The English word for fundamental is the same as the foundation or the base. And so when we're talking about economic fundamentals, it's not the macroeconomic indicators. I'm an engineer. I'm not an economic expert. But when we talk about the foundation of our economy, the foundation of our economy is made up of the natural resources and the human resources that we have as a nation. And so the gold is a foundation, is one of the foundations of our economy. You have cocoa, you have the good soil, you have the climate, the sun, that at this point in time, you have it over 12 hours. You have the salt in the sea, you have the sea itself. You have the good soil. I will leave that one to my best friend when it comes to soil and agriculture. Anywhere in Ghana where you put up a seed, it will come the fertile land. All of these, the manganese and all of that we have, they are the foundations of our economy. And when we learn as to how to transform these foundations of our economy for the world consumption, that is when we'll be able to create wealth.
But Mr. Jacob Oseiboa, I don't think these people don't know.
No, I'm coming. Let me
Do you
laugh.
think that the people in leadership are bereft of ideas as to what to do with what we are blessed with?
You see, that is, you see, if you say that you're an economic expert, and the macroeconomic indicators, i.e. the exchange rate that all of us are suffering now, the interest rate, and the unemployment, and all of that, they are the symptoms of the economy. I normally say that if our economic experts were to be doctors, all of us would have died. And that is why the country is slowly dying. Because when you are suffering from malaria, you go to hospital. The malaria symptoms will give you headache, fever, and things like that. If you take paracetamol, the headache and fever and all of that will go out. But so far as the parasite is concerned, it will come out in a worse situation. And this is what we are suffering. Now that we are suffering from exchange rate, all what measures that they will be putting in place is just something to temporarily stop the rate at which the exchange rate is depreciating. But that is not the solution. When we go back and then look at the fundamentals, looking at what we can come out from cocoa, the value chain that we can build out from cocoa, from gold, from manganese, and all of that, aggregating all of these together, the exchange rate will, by all means, stop depreciating, and then we can then be in a state of having a lot of foreign exchange. Until we've done that, and that is what my team, we call developing what we call systems economic. Okay, systems economy. And then the other thing that as a nation we are also lacking is the fact that we treat everything just like the school uniform. Whenever we are going to school, they want everybody to wear the same thing. And therefore, our thinking, philosophy, has always been like, let all of us wear anything. And so with our economy, we've lump sum almost everything. The way I would treat the telecos who work in Ghana, get a lot of our cedis, and they have to change our cedis to dollars and take the money to their respective country. I will handle them differently from the way I will handle the spare parts dealer at Abosiokai, who will work within Ghana and make sure that it gets cedis to also import this thing. And I will handle the mining companies who will work in Ghana and where the product that they sell bring in foreign exchange. I need to have systems, different tax systems for all of these people within this same nation economy, and then making sure that irrespective of the passions that you have for all of these industries, you have a different tax system. And at the end of the day, we'll bring all of these in the same basket that can help create wealth for our nation. This our economists have not been doing. I once asked one of these, I think, is it Professor Kwachi with IEA? I call him.
John Kwachi, yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I asked him, you see, in privately, he told me that, Joy, what you are saying is true. The fundamentals of our economy is not the microeconomic indicators. But you see, we cannot say it. When we say that an economy is very robust, it's very robust because we have so many things that we can transform. We have so many natural resources that we can transform to help bring health to our economy. Okay. And all of these things are. And the last thing, let me tell you, Dr. Baumia, who has worked with Bank of Ghana, and what I'm saying today, I just want your viewers to go and do that. How did or when did we start using currency? Currency started developed by the Moravians. It started as a promissory note, whereby if you have gold, and depending on the kilos of gold, you go and then deposit it. And then they give you notes that you have 20 kilos of gold with you. And so when you want to go and buy something, and it's, let's say, what you are going to buy is 1 kilo, then you just take 1 kilo of the promissory note just to buy the kenke that you want. That is how a CD or currency was developed. Okay. And so if you understand the fundamentals of economy, when you come, you won't touch the gold industry. You won't destroy businesses. Because by so doing, you are killing the economy. And that is why we found ourselves where we are for this job.
Lawyer Martin People, you've heard, I mean, sometimes the responses that you get, does this give you the sense that government appreciates what the Ghanaian people are going through? the frustrations of the people, or it's a reflection of the disconnect of what you and I are facing?
Not at all. The president is clueless. Yeah.
The president is clueless.
Yeah, he's shown over and over that he's just super incompetent. I think now incompetent is too mild. Let's add super, just like the way we have models, super models. You know, I think we have to now.
Super incompetent.
Yeah, super incompetent. You heard what he said earlier in the week. Oh, he's not bothered by the complaints about lack of roads. If you want, you can vote for the NDC. I mean, what such insensitivity? After we take our money, we feed the president, we feed him, and he has the effrontery to talk to us like that. I'm like, this man, is you okay? We buy food for you. You eat our food, and you talk to us like that? Why? Does he think that 31 million people, we are all scared? We'll tell him that he's super incompetent. Super incompetent. We have to talk back to him. Look, listen, anything can happen. Ghanaians must understand that this is democracy. Somebody has to die. From time to time, the tree of democracy is watered with the blood of patriots and villains. So those of you out there, you can talk in your circles, yes, this is not good, but you are not willing to step out. You are the problem. We have to tell the president that he's super incompetent. He's up to no good at all. He can't talk to us like that. He can't talk to us like that. He should come and render an apology. We give you the position, lead us well. You are misleading us. People complain, and you have the effrontery to tell us that you can vote for NDC, you don't care. What kind of arrogance is that? So it means that the man never changed. 2016, the way I was excited that this man was coming to save us, you come and lead us into a ditch. We complain and then you insult us. Last year, that's the same way he insulted the chief of Aplao. That was the same way he insulted the chief of Aplao. We have to tell the president that he's up to no good. He should just get out of the office.
You want him to
he should get out. Come on. 31 million people. We can't all be scared. We can't all be scared. We can't all be cowed into silence. I mean, what does he take us for? What does he think he is? Why? When I read the statement, I was like, is this man okay? Is he okay? What kind of arrogance? We feed you and then this is how you talk to us? Everything you use, we pay for it. The taxpayer pays for everything you use. And you insult us. You insult us like this. Why? What have we done to deserve this? What have we done to deserve such a shabby treatment from President Akufo-Addo? You can vote for NDC, I don't care. He can't say that. He doesn't lie in his mouth to say so. And you should know that, look, he can't count 31 million of us. He can't. He can't. And look, as for death, listen, Alfred, you can lie in your room and die. You can lie in your room and die. So those of you out there who don't want to pay any price, please, look, let's step out. Look, and I think that, look, the rest of the populace, we should announce a date. I think by the Public Order Act, you just need about 5 days notice to the police for a demonstration, right? Yes, I'm inviting Ghanaians. Let's go for Kumipreku demonstration, part 2. Kumipreku.
You want a Kumipreku-like? You think that's
not part 2? It's not like itself. It's another Kumipreku.
That's the strongest way to send that clear message.
And the president has to leave. Look, and the parliamentarians, listen, removing the president from office, you just need the votes of, to start the process, just 1/3 of parliament. Just 1/3, they have to sign after a petition. So far, if you go through Article 69, we'll find grounds. It says that when he's behaved in such a way as to bring the presidency into contempt, into ridicule, yeah, it's enough grounds. Let's look at Article 69. 69B. So let's start this. It says 69. The president shall be removed from office if he is found in accordance with the provisions of this article. So A, to have acted in willful violation of the oath of allegiance and the presidential oath. So I'm looking at B. To have conducted himself in a manner which brings or is likely to bring the high office of president into disrepute, ridicule, or contempt. Yeah, I think we can try. Yeah, disrepute, ridicule. From January to October, our CD tumbles from what? 6 CDs to what? 14.7, I'm sure today it's like 15 Ghans.
Because for the bids, they received beyond 15 cities on
Thursday.
15 cities, 30 pesos.
Jesus Christ.
So that article you read, said that the president has brought this presidency into
ridicule. It's become the laughing stock of the rest of the world, the worst performing currency. Because this is the same president who told us that this is a Gadgetsburg economy. No Gadgetsburg, rely just on raw materials alone, so he will come and industrialize us. Even if we had even stayed Gadgetsburg that wanted to offer, I'm happy Dr. Abu Sakarya, his PhD. I'm sure Dr. Abu Sakarya has farms. I'm trying. I'm farming a little bit. There are other lawyers farming. You came, you took this thing, make Agric attractive. Millions of youth seated at a house, and we have arable lands. You couldn't make a simple plan, educate, conscientize the citizenry that let's go into farming. Why is a champion still being laughed today? Operation Feed Yourself. Look at us today. If you look at the problems that we are facing from Kwame Nkrumah's time, one of the grounds for removing Kwame Nkrumah, that the shortage of essential commodities, so wanted milk, sugar, and those that were important. So when the president said he's going to turn the economy around, we knew then that means that we have to begin to what? Grow this stuff. Rice, oil, the chicken, those animal products. Why? 6 years. You couldn't do much.
The president says he's aware of his duties.
Kabuki, he's not aware. I think he just has to go. Look, after that one, say 31 million people. Ghanaians, you can't continue to be cowards like that. Let's step out. We'll have a demonstration. But in the meantime, the parliamentarians have to come together. 1/3. Let them make an effort. If eventually the final vote, you need 2/3. If eventually it's shut down, you would have done your bit. But as for the 1/3 to be able to start, they have to. Otherwise, it will be an indictment on all of us that we are so spineless. Spineless. Come on. Look, but I think in the meantime, the president has to come and apologize to us for that nonsensical talk.
You should come and apologize.
Yes. That you can vote for NDC, I don't care. After we feed you, is that how, Alfred, do you allow your children to talk to you like that when you give them food to eat? I mean, come on. We feed you, we do everything for you, and then you talk to us like that. What have we done? I mean, come on. Is it a crime to have voted for you? Is it a crime to have voted for you that you now turn back and insult us? Last year, he did that to the chief of Aplao. Then you continue. Every time he comes, he jabs people, journalists, you become self-appointed wise men. And what this were the same people were all rooting for you. And you turn back, you just insult all the sectors of society, free, willy-nilly. And we can't insult him back. We can't tell him that he's leading us astray.
If he goes, the alternative, who steps in? That's the vice president.
No, he's going with the vice president.
He should go with the vice president.
Go with the vice president. Then the speaker takes, and then before the speaker takes, we have to understand, we'll call a constitutional conference so that there is a committee that's set up to support the speaker, because you know that the speaker comes from the other side of the divide. So if you just say you should hand over, that's not going to sound palatable to Ghanaians. So there should be a buffer that they will set up experts and all that, so we all understand that it's not just the speaker to rule, but with the help of the experts, properly, document a proper agreement that the power is actually outlined well. We can take over and try something, because you have six years and we are so importing rice. And you find people, we go everywhere, people say they want to give perfume rice. What perfume rice? Local rice. It's good doctor is here. Look, Alfred, and you said, we just can't allow this thing to continue. Where's Professor Marty? Where's Nyansafu no Omowahi? Professor Marty? Nyansafu Mowahi?
Says now he does his lamentations through other means instead of the.
No, look, we just come and sit down self-dealing. Oforiata leads us to borrow. Not knowing all along he was taking a cut. Oforiata has to vomit that over 200 million data bank is made from our borrowings. He has to vomit that money. You revoke banking licenses. You see the Unibank and all those ones, and you end up the same. Worse. Today you want to do government business. If you don't get a bond or insurance from Enterprise Insurance, you can't do business. You are borrowing, you need a guarantee, you need insurance. It's all Enterprise Insurance, Oforiata's company. Why? And Ghanaians, you are quiet. Listen, that's why I said the tree of democracy, from time to time, it is watered with the blood of patriots and villains.
When this recommendation you're making is saying it may be the ideal situation, but
it's the practical one.
How practical would it be that the president and the vice go?
Yeah, so
and then the speaker takes over.
So does it mean that the word Anna has ceased to exist in Ghana? There's no Anna in Ghana. You said Gadgetsburg economy. I bought into it. Say 18 months. So I thought as soon as he came, quick, conscientize the people. Look, Operation Feed Yourself, Operation Feed Yourself, Operation Feed Yourself. No, rather the import of this rice, oil, and chicken and frozen chicken, it's gone up billions. That's the major component. That is why the CD has never stabilized. Then we doped the CD. You see, originally they used not to allow foreigners to buy the domestic bonds, not that much. Then when they came in, they allowed it, and that's why Baumia for some time he didn't know that it would catch up with him. They allowed foreigners to buy. They denominated the bonds in CDs. Then that's doping the CD. The CD stabilized, and then he could come and tell us that the CD is stabilized. They've given the keys to the IG. So is it like the return of Virgin Mary? The keys are with the IG, and yet the CD has galloped. The CD is supposed to have been locked, and so it's under lock and key, and yet it has galloped. So it's like Virgin Mary giving birth to Jesus without having sex. You see it? And that's the same. I mean, come on. Alfred, listen, I'm calling on Ghanaians. Let's set a date. 5 days notice to the police. Today is what, 22nd? So if we are 28th, we can have a demo.
Doctor,
we can have a demo. Alfred, no. Just listen. One more point. So now, having ridiculed that we're saying that Article 69 will do the trick, please. Let's just repeat it for the last time. The MPs, both sides, they should step up. That we need just 1/3, 275, 1/3. Are you talking about 92 there? You remember the figure, 90 something in there. So listen, what we are being challenged with that if we don't kickstart those processes, it means that as a nation, we lack honor. We lack honor. That is the meaning. So we all have to take various steps. So we start simultaneously to take him from parliament. We start the demo, appeal to his conscience that he has to go. Parliamentarians have to do their bit. Listen, if we don't initiate the petition to take out the president, to be an indictment, tomorrow posterity will look at us and say we ourselves had no scruples, because that's why we have the constitution. Make an effort. If it fails, it's another matter. It's not for you to look at it and say, this thing will not pass. No. Start. If it fails, then we'll know the person who blocked it. We'll know that, Ghanaians took a constitutional step here, whilst they were doing moral suasion. That's appealing to him through demonstrations and the rest. Kumipreku too. That is how to go. Because for you to have revoked banking licenses, thousands of graduates are home now, unemployed, the banking workers and the rest. Then you come in, you do this to the CD, and you want to continue in office. Where is the moral, moral right to do so? Let me end. So after, look, play back the rhyme, Baumia's rhyme. Teachers are suffering. Doctors are suffering. Kaya ye suffering. Journalists suffering. Lawyers are suffering. Professors are suffering. Please, can we play it back?
We will play it as we will.
Come on.
We're having a very real conversation this morning. Less of the convoluted, conversations and the jargons. The people know exactly what they're going through. As a matter of fact, the people who are watching us have a clear appreciation of their reality. So, but you wanted to do this quickly,
yes,
because I need to move on to
Doc. Let me be honest, and Ghanaians will listen to me. There's no difference between MPP and NDC.
What do you mean?
They are all from the root of UP. UP stands for those who were opposing Nkrumah and those who were part of CPP that had issues with Nkrumah. The agenda from 1992 were actually to silence everything about Nkrumah and then just to make the CPP like a cockroach that is lying at its back. And so from 1992, MPP and NDC, they are one. And that is something that since 2010, I started hamming it up in this country. If anyone thinks that MPP and NDC, they are different, it's a lie. Their root cause is UP. I can give you the tracking,
Okay.
but I'm
sure
interjecting this.
if they were represented here, both of them would disagree with you that they are the same. But Dr. Abusakar Foster, please.
What is it you want me to comment on?
Yes, first off, we are starting on with the state of affairs and this economic situation that we find ourselves in, whether there's been the right response, the urgent interventions to address the frustrations and the plight of the Ghanaian people.
I think, first of all, let me say that I can appreciate some of the pent-up frustrations and the sentiments that are being expressed, because this is not in isolation. It is pervasive throughout the society. So it's not that it is unique. It is quite common everywhere. Everybody is feeling the stress. But as the wise Maasai say, when poverty has stripped you and you don't have any underpants, you better hold on to your cloth well, because the wind may expose you. So this is not a time to make very rash, movements, because what we want is a national solution to the problem. And to understand what we must do, we must understand the fundamental problems that have brought us here. The issue basically is that we need a reform development agenda that looks at the fundamental root of our democracy and governance. The relationship between politics, economics, and society as held together by the Constitution and practiced in the democracy. And if the democracy itself has now become the driving force to push governance into the ditch by virtue of its over-monetization, by virtue of its unresponsiveness to the populace, by virtue of monopolizing leadership or power and entrenching conflict of interest and corruption, then we have to address that. If you don't address that, and you go tinkering with something to bring interest rates down, and next week you want GDP to go up small, all these are tinkerings inside the can. They don't address the fundamental problem. So this is why, right from the beginning, we have always contended, and I'm glad you're sitting here today, because we have been saying for a long time now, what is happening is just shown its head, but the pregnancy has been there for a long time. Yeah? And we have always contended that the way things are going, if we don't have a fundamental reform emanating from the Constitution that will affect our democracy, and then redefine how we make it responsive in terms of its impact on the economy and society, we will go down. We have now reached that point. So this is the time when we should all come together, are you with me, and say, hey, let's step back from this. Let's take a fundamental look. Yes, people are annoyed by certain comments that have been made, are you with me? But lashing that person, it may give us some satisfaction, but it won't solve the fundamental problem.
No, but you will then not repeat that.
I agree. But what I'm saying is that we want solutions to the problem.
And that's why leadership is in place, isn't it?
Yes,
that's why I ask you the question about whether the solution is being provided.
So right now, what we have a crisis situation, okay? The way you approach solutions is first containment. Are you with me? If you have a fire, you try to contain the fire first before you put it out. If you go straight to putting it out and you haven't contained it, while you're trying to put it out, it is spreading. The containment in this situation, which we have called for a long time ago, is to accept and admit that no one group of people in Ghana, are you with me, can solve this problem that we are talking about. We all have to come together, have a consensus, debate issues, are you face the reality, are you with me, and come up with a comprehensive plan that we can apply. If everybody does it the way they want to do it, I am in government, leave me alone, let me do it. If I can't do it, it's okay. When I finish, you can take over. Then he also takes over and starts doing his own. Are you with me? And if he can't do it, he will give it back to me. That is not an approach that will lead to a solution. That is why we called for consensus seeking in attending this crisis and trying to contain it. That is number one. Okay? The second issue that I think we need to recognize, which we have for a long time denied and denied and denied, are you with me, is that if you don't have, for a fledgling nation, a long-term national development plan where you build as you build a pyramid, are you with me? And you leave it flat, everybody comes and stacks the bricks wherever they want it, you will never get a pyramid. And though that issue is fundamental because in every nation's life, are you with me, there has been a time when everything was set aside and clear mileposts and goals for the development of the country were followed, irrespective of ideology and these other partisanship.
You think
Now,
with this, the crisis situation that we find ourselves
Yes.
in, this is the time to give heed to that kind of
Yes.
thinking. But
Yes.
you see clearly that it's not the
no,
consideration.
well, look, reality will force
leadership.
people into it. You see, what we are experiencing now, we're all complaining because times are hard. What I can tell you is that they're not hard enough yet. Because in going into the next year, the year after that, up to 2025, things will get very, very hard. And whatever government...
Harder than what we are going through now?
And whatever government that we bring in 2025, it has to be the most prudent and physically disciplined government we have ever had for us to have a chance by 2029, 2010 to begin to see progress. So this is not a joking situation. And what I would say is drastic situations require drastic measures. They don't require the usual tweedling and twinkling and, what would you call it now?
The politicking,
No. So we need to call a national consensus, are you with me? A national meeting, come across the board to build consensus on which direction to go. And I say this in all candidness. We never addressed this problem at the start of our nation's independence. We simply proceeded, are you with me, with the system that was given to us. Nobody stopped to ask what kind of democracy is suitable for us, what kind of economy should we run, etc. We just got on with it. What kind of society should we build? We just got on with it. Now things have come to a stage where we have to ask those fundamental problems before we begin to attempt to address the problem at a fundamental level. Otherwise, we'll end up in the same situation again. And the proof is that, why do you keep going back to the IMF? If going to the IMF was a solution to your problems, should it not be solved by now?
Well, so that's actually the answer to the question you were asking earlier. Yes, that the solution now, it appears that now, look, the savior of this situation is the IMF. I mean, government clearly appears clueless about the situation.
Well, I don't think that the savior of the situation is the IMF.
No, I'm talking about what the position of government is now. Have you seen anything else beyond the reliance on an IMF program?
That is because our mind is still fixed on the solution, which is borrow and spend. Borrow and spend. When Jacob was making reference to two political parties being the same, I didn't think about it in terms of the origin of those political parties. But their management of the economy has always been based on borrow and spend. So now we have to get to a different situation where we say that no, we are going to grow this economy, our home-based economy, from its base: agriculture, manufacturing. Let our mineral resources and our income drive that. Long time ago, when we found oil, we all say we don't want Ghana to become one of those oil-diseased countries. And what was the solution? We had long debates, and we all agreed that the income from the oil should be directed into the productive sectors, the production sectors, agriculture and manufacturing, renewable. Are you with me? Not focusing on mining, where once you take it out, it is gone. Yeah? So what happened to that income? I believe President Mills tried to set up two funds, the Heritage Fund and the other fund, where at least some of it will be kept. But even that little amount, what has happened to it? It's been siphoned off. So there was never any clear thinking that this is our production area of the economy. We're going to use this windfall income to grow this thing. It is going to save us this much, and we will adjust the rest of our trade policies to make sure that happens. It takes more than just wishful thinking for the agricultural sector to become or to play the role that you want it to play in the economy. You don't leave that to NGOs.
You know, I know that you're passionate about the agricultural sector.
Yes.
So, see, there's a lot that has been said, and a lot of the taxpayers' money that has been invested in agricultural policies meant to improve on the offerings of this sector. Talk about planting for food and jobs, rearing for export, and so on and so forth. We visited a number of poultry farms in this country. The poultry industry is on the brink of collapse, if it's not collapsed already. They control just, according to them, 2% of the broiler that industry that we have.
If that.
98% of it is imported.
And we have
The chicken that we are consuming in this country. You take a look at the agro farms, ET farms that we visited. Look.
Some of them are even collapsing.
Out of doing jobs here, they've all been sent home. Look at the cars that are parked. You only need to have security people around just to guide them. And I just feel it's just bad. Just bad.
How many workers did you have at that time?
Overall, we had about 80 workers just for this place and for the other farm. Even when the processing plant was in operation, we had over 140 workers. But now we can't count on even 25 of them.
Wow.
Yes.
But the weeds have taken over the place. Is it that you are hoping that you'll bounce back, or maybe you want to plan and use it for something?
So we're hoping that we'll bounce back. We're looking for right policy direction that will enable us bounce back. We can do this broiler local. It doesn't take more than 6 weeks, not months, 6 weeks to grow chicken to a
That's
full.
organic, or you feed it with stuff too?
You feed it with stuff. Yes. Maize and soya, these are just what you need. And within 6 weeks, the birds will be ready for slaughter. It's something which, if not changed within the next 1-2 years, probably not only agro farms, several other farms will also be talking the same way I'm talking.
At first, we used to buy concentrate, which is imported. Just about 2 months ago, it was 300 cedis, but now that shoot up to 475.
Now he cannot feed his birds properly, but shutting down his farm is not an option.
They take 2 bags a day, and one is 250 cedis a bag, and 500 cedis a day. I'm not doing anything. No one is financing me. It is by my own papa movement that I'm using it to feed them.
The story was no different at the Dune Tropical Limited.
This is quinzite, disinfectant that every farmer uses on his farm. Before we were buying it 100 and 120, but as we speak now, it's around 400 plus.
That's the reality.
That's the reality.
Look,
and it
we
is
have
pervasive.
one farm, 80 farmers now down to 14. That's 50. That's 66 workers gone.
Yeah.
What's happening to their families now? Those who depend on them. These farmers whose cost of production have doubled. They were spending 250 cedis on feed. Now it's 475 cedis. It is not business as usual.
These
Dr.
are the
Abusakra Foster.
symptoms. These are the symptoms of a failed system. The fact of the matter is this: the individual profitability of these businesses hangs on a policy framework that supports industry and agriculture. And if your mindset is not focused on making that profitable in your community, in your economy, you will be outcompeted by other people. Production of those things is not the problem. He's told you, the technology is there. We can grow these things. But the issue is when you come to the markets, what cost are you selling it at? And what are your production costs versus the one which has been imported, and what are their production costs?
But you see,
So
that's
let
when
me-
government has to be
Yeah,
deliberate.
well,
You know
let
what?
me complete this. So for a long time, we have been addressing agriculture as individual projects. You start this project, oh, hasn't it worked well? And then you start this project, oh, look at this one. Donors give you money, you start this project, oh, look at this one too. It's like this Chinese game of putting plates on sticks and you're spinning it. It looks very impressive. But the minute they get too many or you stop spinning it, the plates fall on the ground. And if you look at our agriculture, that is what has been happening for a long time. And the reason is we have not sat down, are you with me, to say, let's look at our agriculture sector. What are the categories of farmers? Small scale farmers, 60%. Medium scale farmers, maybe 20%. Yeah? Large scale farmers are very few, maybe 4 or 5%. Now, which country do you know which agriculture is developed relying only on small scale farmers? So it means that there must be an underlying conveyor belt converting small scale farmers to medium scale farmers and medium scale farmers to larger scale farmers. For that to happen, are you with me? For that to happen, you must make sure that that transition process is supported in terms of human resources, is supported in terms of cost of capital, is supported in terms of cost effectiveness of inputs, and is supported in terms of access to markets. And again, an important component of that is fuel. Now, we all know that at the end of the day, competitiveness in the market is what determines whether agriculture succeeds or not. Showing me a nice field today, I grew sweet corn in the dry season on my irrigation system in the north, just to show that it works. But the economics of it is not sustainable. Now, at the end of the day, when you are competing in agriculture, you have to look at your competitors and look at what you do. The system outside is that you go to the supermarkets, they start from there, and they've decided already that a certain percentage of household income is going to be used on food. More than that, the government would not be popular. So you work back from that and make sure that you support certain transactions that make your producers competitive. If you don't do that, then the volume from outside will come and eat your domestic market. And we know that has been happening. The next issue, which I think is very important for the growth of our economy, we have all been saying for a long time, irrigation, 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 irrigation. And I want us to contrast our situation with Burkina, which is in a drier place than us. Are you with me? And the water is only one river coming through there. We have 4 rivers split across the country from the north. And yet for 6-7 months of the year, there's no production in the north. What has been our acreage of irrigation over the last 30 years? It has been going down, not increasing.
There was one village, one dam.
Yeah.
That's all those
no,
things.
but you see,
those policies that were put there.
That is where I'm telling you that the politics drives the economy into the ditch. One village, one dam can't work because not all villages have access to water to fill the dam. That's why some of them are dry. But you could have taken a strategy, if you wanted to build dams, to look at those particular places which are affected by floods and build the dams off there. So we take that excess water off those 4 rivers and create communities around there. That way you would have had an increased area that would have come under production in the dry season, which would be permanent. And that alone could have increased our GDP by about 15-20% if we were serious with it. And that would mean that our food security is buffered by a large amount of food which comes to buffer the rainy season. If you haven't done this fundamental one, forget about all the other small ones you're doing in the rainy season.
Right. So you see, this classic case of what's happening to the poultry, and it's not just the poultry industry. In fact, all through the agriculture chain, you see this happening. Now, understand a crate of egg is about 40 cedis, depending on where you're buying it from 21 cedis at the start of the year to about 40 cedis, between 35 and 40 cedis.
It's 40
now.
cedis.
And you look at what's happening with the broiler sector, what we just showed you, right? There is clearly no political will and commitment to address this because, as we've seen, as reported, there are some people who are politically connected who are even involved in the importation of frozen chicken.
That is what I wanted to say.
See, we saw what happened involving a company that was owned or is owned by a member of the Council of State, right? So what can and should be done? It certainly cannot be business as usual where we continue to do the same things and expect different results. That will not make sense.
See, Okashi, I don't know whether you, of course, you know, when it comes to analysis, we normally talk about the pest analysis, which is the political, economic, the social, technology, and we normally add the legal, the regulatory, and the environment. Now, the reason why we always start with the politics, which is the P, is that, politics is a process of decision-making, influencing decision-making. That is what all politics is about. And so the moment that process is distorted, you can never get the economy right, you can never get the social, the technology, the legal. If you look at the poultry aspect, and again, it is this same UP route that destroy Akoko Dakon's poultry farm. And that is where we are. And just as you rightly said, I noted
You're talking about Dako Farms.
Dako Farms.
Dako Farms has been revived. And I think that
the capacity.
There was this, it's under the 1D1F, I think. And then some money was made available to it. And it's something we're doing, that we're checking the state of affairs of that farm now, after the taxpayers' money was invested in there in an attempt to revive it. But I know that 2 years ago, yes.
Decades. And so that lost time and all of that, the growth of it and things like that. So we, as a nation, we need to get the political decision right. Other than that, we will continue to wallow in this kind of thing. If you look at the poultry farm, when you want to create the value chain of the poultry farm, you start with the feeding, that is the maize. You can, the feeding of the poultry. You can get some from, I think they add some cassava, some maize together with some fishes and all of that. And so in creating the value chain of these supplies, if you want to get maize, you need to go into that the economies of maize. And then there must be deliberate policy that this is the kind of volume as a nation that we want to get out of our poultry by beginning to cut off the rate of importation. But then, because of the political decision, and you have a Council of State member who is part of the political UP tradition of MPP and NDC, they will, because of political patronage, they will make sure that the person gets a lot of money rather than all of us to suffer. But you see, this is the root cause. Look at Tema Oil Refinery. We have oil refinery over here. We have oil. We cannot, and deliberately, Tema Oil Refinery is not functioning. And if you look at our economy, every economy is actually moved by energy. Okay? And that is why the moment we have price increases of fuel, it affects almost everything. If you have an asset such as the Tema Refinery, and you have a government and governments of this UP, MPP, NDC that have never sat down to say that we want to resuscitate Tema Oil Refinery, and they will be found wanting in our energy sector. And how can we become competitive? And that is why Dr. Buksakar will come. Then the external economy will come and eat us over here. So we need to get the politics right. We need to kick this MPP and NDC. We need to kick this political scam of multi-party democracy. And let's go in for non-partisan, which is the true democracy.
Unigov again.
No, you see, it's not Unigov. You see,
no, I'm not saying it's bad. Maybe.
You see, there's one thing that we don't understand. Nkrumah started something that we say one-party state. Democracy is what we call one-party state. Because every nation, right from the family level, is unity in diversity. There's nothing like opposition in development. We develop with unity, but in diversity. In our families, if our mothers were to be opposition, can we grow? In our institutions, when we go to school, I'm coming, do we have to have opposition before the school administration can go on? Do you need a political ideology before you can know that 1 + 1 is 2? In our chieftaincy district, do we need opposition? We don't need them. In our church, when we are praying, and the church organization developing, do we need opposition? Why is it that when it comes to governing a nation alone, they've created this dogma for all of us to believe that unless you have opposition, you cannot develop?
You see, I'm struggling a bit to situate this analysis in the context of governing a nation. I don't think that you only see the opposition as you indicated. If they are in opposition to develop, that's where the checks and balances come in. That's where you actually are able to keep the government or the father of the house in check. I mean, if you're looking at a family setting and the mother is not checking the father, it is a recipe for disaster.
I think we have to define what we mean by opposition.
But you can understand the derivation. I'm not saying that it does not fit within the context of running a country.
You see, that is why I'm saying that it's a dogma that has been created for all of us to believe in, and we are finding it very difficult. Okay? So there's nothing like opposition in development. You see, time will not permit us. I just want us to have the political mindset right as a nation that we can develop. These political parties exist for the imperialists to control all of us through our presidents, who will normally have majority in parliament, and parliament takes legal decision binding all of us. And so your president will be there, and then we will have a call from the imperialist president. My friend, we want this. Sell Vodafone to us. And the president will tell the majority, and the majority in parliament will sell.
You say that's what happened?
This is what happened. You see, Ghana National Security, if you read KB Kwansin, Ghana National Security, the dilemma, he will tell you that our president are captured leaders. Who have captured them? It is the imperialist system. Political party is a neo-colonialist tool. Okay? So we have all of these things that we want to do, but because of the political mindset, we are unable to do that. Just as in my initial submission, I was talking about understanding the foundation of our economy. And so I was just going to use the poultry farm as an example. With the poultry farm, you start with maize cultivation.
Right.
That maize cultivation alone, do you know the number of employment that it can create out of that? You want to produce fish for the feeding. That feeding, you go to the fishermen. And that little unnecessary fish that they don't need, that is what you want to add. Do you know the kind of employment that you can create, an economy that you can create out of that? You need cassava as a mix of the maize to mix it up with the fish. And in creating the cassava economy and cultivation, do you know how much it's going to do that? You have the transportation system that will carry these to the processing center. That is another form. At the processing center of these feed, do you know the economy that can be created out of there? Apart from that, do you know the economy that will be created out of the sales of these poultry farm? Now we're talking about planting for food and jobs. Just sit down, do your own analysis, find out how much has been pumped into that. If this planting for food and job has been working, Ghana by now should be laughing. We should be having a lot of stock. It's just a talk. It has never worked. Just find out the amount that has been injected in planting for food and jobs, and find out. And if Ghana were to be your company, and you inject such an amount, and then you are getting this, will you be happy?
Well, as at June,
political party is the most useless thing. Let me end. Political party system is the most useless thing. Just look at what is happening. How much money they are spending in organizing from constituency, police station constituency up to national, and then at the end of the day, they give us bad governance. What is the importance of political parties? They exist to give us good governance. Okay. And so why are we spending so much time and energy on them? They are selling emotions to us, and only a few of them are enjoying against all of us.
As of June, the Agric Minister said some 2.6 billion cedis had been spent on planting for food and jobs. This was as of June. Obviously, that figure would have gone up. I want Lawyer Martin Kwebo.
Okay. Yeah, Alfred. Okay. Good. So back to the point, is it, Alfred? That's how I was quoting. I think there's even a more relevant provision of the Constitution. After we had said Article 69B, the 69(1)B, the radical disrepute and contempt. The B is the 2, and the B is even more poignant. It says when the president has acted in a manner prejudicial or inimical to the economy. Prejudicial or inimical to the economy.
This is 69.
1BII. 69(1)BII. That's the Roman numeral 2. Prejudicial or inimical to the economy or the security of the state. And you know, as soon as you touch the economy, that's the security you are touching.
Security issue.
Yes. You've heard the instead of this 011 people eating lunch and dinner, now they are eating 001. People can't afford food. Look at how what do you call it? Transport prices have gone up.
In fact, on that,
come on,
GPRTU has served notice. Transport fares will go up on Monday.
And you're Kumi Preko. Listen, so, Ghanaians, come up. 28th, we have to hit the streets because listen, you will stay in your house and you will die. Hunger will kill you. But if we take bold steps and stop these vampires, we will save ourselves. We will save ourselves. After, what's the substantive question?
No, you made that point.
Oh, no, but I've not. Then let's go on. Let's go on. So, beginning of the year, let's give practical examples to other ones, apart from this food matter. Beginning of the year, was cement not around 60, yeah? Or even 50 something?
50. 55.
55.
I think somewhere 47 cents, thereabout.
Yesterday, there's a cement seller I deal with called me as of last week, up until yesterday, it was 67 Ghana. Then yesterday she called me and said, oh, please, from yesterday, it was 77. Then a friend of mine in Kumasi called in the evening and said in Kumasi it's about 90. You can double check.
A bag of cement?
Yeah. So what is this? What is this? So beginning of the year, if you're owing $10,000, that's 60,000 Ghana. Today, that same $10,000 double 15. So if the dollar now 15, so is that 150,000? Oh, come on. I mean, we can't allow over 130%. Yeah, from 60,000, $10,000 beginning. CD was 6 CDs.
Actually, so it was 6 CDs, 40 pesos. So if you needed $10,000 then, that's about 64,000 CDs. 64. Now you need 150,000 CDs. Yeah, that's more than double.
Yeah,
yes.
The amount of
about 130%.
You needed then.
And we are seated. Look, listen, this thing has to stop. That's what I'm saying. Don't be scared of death. We have to step out.
You see,
step out and we'll move these guys out.
Why is it that we don't have that energy for us to struggle? It's because of political patronage. You always have about 50% that is against and that is for the government. And how can we move as a nation?
So you earlier cited this when we were talking over that. For instance, Fix the Country started a path of what you
are. We threw Oliver under the bus.
But then again, we see the evidence of it. Okay.
So call back Oliver. Oliver, let him come and lead the charges. Yes.
That did not.
You see, he warned us. We didn't listen. Oliver was warning us. Hey, Akufo-Addo is up to no good. It's up to no good. We didn't listen. Now we see.
See, both Dr. Abusakara Foster and Jacob Osebo have been going on about the structure of our politics and its relevance. Lawyer, I mean, the security of our democracy, according to the directive principles of state policy in this 1992 Constitution, which you just quoted, is hinged on its ability to meet the basic needs of these people who are governed by it. That's what the directive principle of state policy says.
The economic rights and all of that.
Is this democracy secured in terms of its ability to meet the basic needs of its people? Lawyer.
Yeah, so let's go. So Alfred, to make the point, let's read the constitutional provision 36. That's 36 if referred to. Manage the economy in such a way to assure the welfare of the people. 36(1). See, the state shall take all necessary action to ensure that the national economy is managed in such a manner as to maximize the rate of economic development and to secure the maximum welfare, freedom, and happiness of every person in Ghana, and to provide adequate means of livelihood and suitable employment and public assistance to the needy. Alfred, in matters like this, let's go over. Let's not be in a hurry to just. This is a constitution. Let citizens understand, then they can come on board. 36(1) says, the state shall take all necessary action to ensure that the national economy is managed in such a manner as to maximize the rate of economic development and to secure the maximum welfare, freedom, and happiness of every person in Ghana, and to provide adequate means of livelihood and suitable employment and public assistance to the needy. So that is it. And the president knew about it. And he said, give him 18 months. He would turn the economy round from the Gadgisburg economy. That was the mantra. And I bought into it. Lots of us bought into it. Didn't want to see the previous administration at all. We say, lawyer Papa Eba. Lawyer Oba Bibu Omai. Amambu Papa Eba. Sana is 419. Complete 419. That's ridiculous. So he has to pay a price for this. 36(1) staring in the face. Like I said, Alfred, what does it take? Yes, were you saying something?
Yes, the details of that particular article that you just read is what I'm making reference to.
Yes.
The clarity of the Constitution's concern about the economic well-being of the people.
Yeah, welfare economy. There's no pure capitalism anywhere. Even in the US, it's a welfare economy. Sometimes people get up capitalism. No. It's welfare economy. That's why the US operates. So go have and a child is born in the US, you have the state. They provide milk. And so many, they give money monthly. Over a period, it's some money. Go to the UK, the same. Akufo-Addo came here and his people, they are chopping all the money. You think, look, this dollar that's missing, lots of it is with government officials. It's with them, the dollar.
Really?
They brought in the money. Yes. The black economy.
You know that?
Yes. Contractors, when you get the contract, they pad it, the corruption money. Then after you go and withdraw the money from the bank and go and give those officers. So that is where that's why the dollar is in such shortage. The dollar is with the politicians. It's with the politicians. Listen, that's why I said, look, give me life or death. That is what we must understand today.
So
if we don't accept that, we have to move out and confront this problem, then we are doomed as a people. That is the problem. The money is to them. Ask the business people. They will tell you. They'll tell you behind the scenes. Of course, we can't name names. We can never. But that is where the problem is. The money is with the people. See, Ofuriatta made over 150 million from raising this in bonds and the rest. He has to vomit that money. And the other people, Edubuahi and all those people, those hundreds of millions.
See, this chapter 6 that yours is chapter 34, right?
No, that's 36(1). There are other provisions. 35.
Chapter 6.
Manage. There is 35, who is about create opportunities.
Yes.
Articles,
You know,
and
I can say, this is the Constitution. It is the enactment of the Constitution that we're talking about. As for the Constitution, it's been the same. Are you with me? Turning that into reality is where we have a problem.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is the path that people have chosen to turn this into reality is deficit in results. And the issue is, if you don't change that path, you will keep getting a deficiency in that result. So now is the time for us to talk. What alternative path are we going to take?
So Alfred, let's read the other provisions.
If you change everybody in government now, are you with me? And you don't take a fundamentally different path, you will end up with the same result. So what I am saying, and I want us to focus on, is granted, let us say that the whole board is wiped clean today. Everybody who you say is a problem has gone. Question is, what is the direction?
That's why I said that before the Speaker of Parliament takes over, we create a bureau of technocrats. You guys come together.
So
economists, lawyers, bankers.
Let's have a consensus. Are you with me? Right from the beginning, we said, let's have a consensus. People mentioned reference to, you know, what's the name of that hotel at the beach? That NDC had a national century. But it has to go beyond that. Are you with me? It has to be a real search for an alternative path that takes into account the results we have been getting one successive administration after another. What we are having today, are you with me? Where we are today, yes, it is true that this situation has been exasperated by recent management in government. But that path didn't start today. It started a long time ago. You go look at the borrowing of government, and IEA has done a very nice graph of this. And you just see the debt increasing. And there's always a spike with each election. Are you with me? So the question is, why should your election be causing a spike in debt? Is that a correct democracy? Are you with me? So we have to examine the situation of redefining our democracy to suit the kind of development we want. We cannot just keep on going, changing drivers. Are you with me? Etc. It is a fundamental path we need to take, and the situation now has driven us to it. So if we are going to have any big national event at all, let us call for consensus across the board. It is not because of ego that somebody should say, oh, I'm going to do it my way or not at all. The whole nation now is at risk. Let's put egos aside and accept that where we are, we need a fundamentally different alternative path. If we don't examine that, any other action that we take is likely even to make our situation worse.
So just a quick point, and then
lamenting about things is not going to help us.
You see, and I don't think what
the fundamental
about is lamentation.
The fundamental.
This reference to the finance minister and this the benefits of what is being done over the period, even though anytime this comes up, it's quite clear the response of Data Bank that he has resigned from the company.
But he's still a shareholder. He's not running away. He's a shareholder. The shareholder takes the profit.
We can only independently check or
no, he takes the profit. He himself said it. Over 150 million.
So,
he takes. So he will vomit that money. The mantra is that he will vomit that. His kids cannot spend that money. His children cannot spend that money.
As a person in the company running.
No, he's still a shareholder. He's still a shareholder. That's not what you are talking about. Is directorship. Director that's managing. Obviously, I mean, come on, are we that stupid that he couldn't have stayed as a director and be finance minister? So that's a given that he had to hand over as a director. But he's still a shareholder. Recently, the figures came out. He has a big percentage in it. Okay, so that's what we say, that he has to return that money. He has to return the money. You can't fleece us. Uforiata has to return all the money he's made from the bonds. He has to return the money to the chest from Data Bank. And the Dubuahin, the same.
The Article 36 that Martin read said the state And Dr. Abu Sakara, we've been working on this constitutional amendment for quite a long time. And then he's been talking about the fundamental. We need to go to the fundamental. That fundamental that we need to go to is to change the constitution, this 1992 constitution. The major problem is that the beneficiaries, who are the UP, Tradition, MPP, and NDC, they are benefiting from it. And even Rollins, that all of us said that this constitution was created for, at a point in time, felt sidelined. Sidelined that this same constitution is being used more than that it was created for. And so you see, the fundamental problem of the 1992 constitution is that we don't have what we call a state. There's no state. We fuse the state power to the executive. And so the executive is enjoying everything. And we need to go back to that fundamental, and brains like you, for us to create what we call, this is the state of Ghana, and this is the powers. And to me, I believe that that state power should be given to Parliament to check on the executives and things like that. And Parliament is the model of our nation, where we take all decisions. So until that fundamental is actually changed from the Constitution, all of us will be wallowing. And so, you see, Doc Abu Sakara, you know that any time all the people that will be talking behind and the name agenda that we've pushed across, all of us, we know that until this 1992 Constitution is changed, there's no way that Ghana will be able to move forward. Yes. Look at what this same UP, MPP, NDC, Dukadaya has said. Even Mills, who was a lawyer, started with this constitutional amendment in 2011. Yeah. And his vice president, who succeeded him when he came, just pushed it aside. And we say that Mahama was just a communication expert. He's not a lawyer. And so Nanado, who is a lawyer, an expert, when it comes, everything will change. And then, as a lawyer, he has never even spoken about it. The last time that these CSO people met him in his office, he promised them that he was going to ensure that this 1992 constitution is amended. How can these beneficiaries, they themselves, go and change? You see, that is why what Martin was saying, I said that it's very difficult. Because in Parliament, where we have MPP and NDC, they are the beneficiaries. They are supposed to take that action where 1/3 of them will begin to start this. Do you think that
we'll get 1/3? We'll get 1/3.
Do you think that they will do? Even now that NDC is bragging, now that NDC is bragging that we are even 50%, it's a hung parliament. It's easy for NDC MPs alone to start this one. Yeah. Do you think that they are going to do it?
No, they will do it. We are going to push. We'll add them to the demonstration.
Let's pray that they will do it. You see, the two of them, you see, until we get so angry with these two, MPP and NDC, that some of them started talking that they are one from 2010 that we began this mission. It's not that Ghanaians are realizing that the two of them are. If anyone thinks that, you see, you were saying that the president is insulting us with his action. That is the kind of mentality that they have for all of us. They behave like Agrada, and they see Ghanaians as members of Agrada.
We are fools, right?
Right on.
Are you with me?
Thank you. Thank you.
Martin, let us get one thing.
This is in a minute. I need to go for a quick break.
Yes.
After when we come, let's read the constitutional provisions, more of it, okay?
Yes, I'll go for this quick break. I'll be back shortly. Dr. Abu Sakara Foster, right after the break, I'll give you your take. He is the founder of the National Interest Movement with us in studio. Jacob Oseyeboa also is just a passionate Ghanaian and one-time independent, three-time independent
2012, 2016, and even 2020.
One time does not necessarily limit you to
only
just once. It's the expression of your interest to lead this country as an independent candidate. But